Hello, everybody. We're back from Mama Mondays. And I can't wait to share my special guest with you today. It is Michele Finn. Hello, welcome, G. Alvarez. We're glad you're here. Look, we learned
You
something new
did
today.
it!
Hey,
Hi,
Michelle.
Hannah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I can't see you, but I can hear you, so I'm sure everyone else can see you. Someone dropped me a little 100 or a heart just to confirm that's true. But Michele, I'm so glad you're here today. We had the lovely pleasure of meeting in Montana. I was already talking about George's event, Relationships Be Algorithms, and how valuable this has been, not just in my business life, but my personal life,
Yes.
and how I got to meet you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Michele, and where you're at and what you do.
Thank you, Hannah. Yes, it was wonderful to meet you there. That group of people just something special for my heart. Just having that so many people in one room that really truly want to change the world and make it a better place and are working hard to do so. So my name is Michele Finn. I'm an aromatherapist in Southern Indiana. I'm right by Louisville, Kentucky. And I had no intentions of becoming an aromatherapist, of becoming a cannabis educator, none of that. But my mom had leukemia, and I was just making sugar scrubs, having some fun with essential oils. I've always been a bit of a DIYer, and I've always done things myself, made things myself, and so I was just playing with essential oils and falling in love with them. And when my mom was diagnosed, I started bringing them into the I almost said the kitchen, her hospital room, because it became a daily activity to do everything we could to make it a positive experience, even though it was kind of hell. We wanted her to know that every single day we wanted her to fight. She wanted to fight, and that we were going to be there for the whole time. So whether it was music, whether it was essential oils, whether it was home cooked meals, just everything we could do to help her get through.
And that's really beautiful because we always want to support our loved ones, and there's so many modalities, and there's so many modalities from nature that can assist even as we're using or leveraging Western medicine techniques as well. And so, what were some of those essential oil blends that you brought in to help? And were they for pain relief? Were they for relaxation? How did she use those?
Well, to be honest, I didn't know hardly anything. Okay. Like all I knew is that lavender was relaxing, peppermint was uplifting, and could help settle your stomach. Like that's all I knew. And it was enough at the time. It was enough. So I would just come in and help put a little lavender on her pillow, help her relax so she could rest in between treatments. I would help put a little bit of peppermint oil on her abdomen or on her pillow to help her wake up, or when she needed to eat or needed to walk, or and things like orange is so, citrus is so joyful. Like if anybody thinks they don't know enough to be helpful with essential oils, seriously, it is as simple as that. Lavender's relaxing, peppermint's uplifting, and citruses are joyful. That's all you need, you know?
That's a great place to start. I certainly have
Mm-hmm.
some essential oils. I ended up doing a period of time with aromatherapy and massage and ended up with a whole bunch of oils. I have to admit, I don't use them all the time. However, when I come across them or when I'm in an acute situation, I'm like, ooh, let me go grab those oils because I know they're going to help. And so I personally like to use them topically instead of perfume. I'm not a big perfume person, but I love
Yeah.
to use essential oils because they smell amazing and they stimulate my nervous system in different ways. So, how did this interest in essential oils then transition into CBD, cannabis, and that type of information?
Absolutely. So I realized that I needed more than Pinterest recipes to help my mom through, a bone marrow transplant and leukemia. It was very aggressive. It wasn't one of those things where like you just go into the hospital every now, once a month for chemo or whatever. Like when she was in there, she lived in the hospital for like 6 months on her first round of treatments. So it was pretty extreme. So I started digging around and I found the aromatherapist community. Like I didn't even know they existed. But just like with any kind of specialty, you know, whether it's knitting, basketball, whatever, you have your extremists, right? You have your people who their lives are dedicated to that craft. And because my mom was in such a situation, doors opened for me within the aromatherapist community. And one of the leading essential oil experts in the world lived 20 minutes from me, 20 minutes from my house. Yeah. So when I found him, I messaged him and I was like, hey, you know, this is what I'm dealing with. And he's like, I'm more of a chemist perfumist, but here's your people, you know, and he is the one that sent me in the right direction. And it changed my life, changed my mom's life. And from there, I had already used cannabis to help my mom a little bit. When she came home from the hospital, the first time from her bone marrow transplant, like it was, I mean, she was frail, she was dried up for radiation. Like, I mean, she was a shadow of herself, really. And I could tell she was going to leave, you know, like she was shutting down. And I was like, okay, mom, you know, do you want to stay or do you want to go? Like, I'll help you, whatever we're doing here, just tell me what you want. And she's like, I want to stay. And I said, okay. So that's where the cannabis came in, because none of their medications were working at that point. I mean, it had gotten her through, you know, they got rid of the cancer. I didn't get rid of the cancer, but she was so frail, you know, and she wouldn't take medicine. She wasn't going to eat. She wasn't drinking. And it's just because she felt so awful and drained of life, right? So I did not know that what she needed was to stimulate her endocannabinoid system. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Didn't know that word existed, you know, right? So, but I did know that cannabis heals. So I was trying to be a grown up, you know, whatever that's supposed to be. I was trying to be a professional. And I was like, hey, what about Marinol? What if we try Marinol? You know, the synthetic THC made into a pill, whatever. And they were like, yeah, we'll prescribe it. Insurance won't cover it. It's going to be $900.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, I can barely work because I'm taking care of my mom. My husband's missing work taking care of me while I'm taking care of my mom. Like, you know, I'm not going to spend $900 on that. I was like, okay, thank you very much. So I called my cousin. I was like, hey, I know you still partake. Like, I need some goods for my mama. So, you know, $40 later, instead of $900 later,
Mm-hmm.
I made my mom some muffins. I made her some very special blueberry muffins. And they helped bring her back to life.
Yes, well, we all know the sort of stereotypes of, you know, getting the munchies and falling asleep and all those different kinds of things. So it sounds like some of the areas where your mother had a challenge, that stereotypical way in which one might respond to consuming cannabis was exactly what she needed in order to help her system come back online. So I'm so curious
Yeah.
because I don't know a lot about the endocannabinoid system other than we have receptors. Is it in our brain or in our body? That sort of indicates that human beings have been utilizing this medicine for a really long time. And I'm also curious, are there other things besides cannabis that also have cannabinoids?
Absolutely. So it turns out that our endocannabinoid system is a six, I think it is either 600 million or 600 billion year old system. I, I don't know which one because it doesn't really matter. It's really freaking old, okay? Um, so every animal has it. Like every mammal has an endocannabinoid system. They have known about it for about 30 years. And they refuse to put it in the medical books. They refuse. So instead of it being a system that's like just kind of in the background, it actually helps regulate all of our other systems. So my
Mm.
mom's body was so fried from chemo and radiation, her systems couldn't speak to each other. Her pain was out of control, even though she was on very high pain medication. Her brain couldn't function. It didn't have any lipids, you know, it didn't have any fat left in it. It didn't have any of the good stuff. I mean, she was like a little prune, you know. And when I say little, I mean little. Like I'm 5 feet tall. My mom's like 4'8", you know.
Little. I
Okay.
am.
So, so at this, this was 6 years ago. I didn't know the things that I know now. I had no idea. I didn't know the journey it was going to take me on. I didn't know the journey it was going to take my mom on. I did not know the journey that we were going to be on together, like after her bone marrow transplant. I thought she gets her BMT, she survives, and everything's good. We get to go home, right? Unfortunately, that was not the case. There's something called graft versus host disease. So after you have a bone marrow transplant, then you have to hope the transplant takes really well, right? And she was chronically ill from the bone marrow transplant. Her cells, the donated cells, were battling it out. And cannabis was absolutely the key to healing her from graft versus host disease. So as my education is starting to gain some momentum in the aromatherapy world, the cannabis world, I'm making connections with local farmers. I'm joining the Midwest Hemp Council. Like, I ended up becoming a local spokesperson for CBD. I was the first, as far as I know, the first CBD company in my area, and especially woman owned. Yeah. So first CBD line in my little corner of the world. And I had no intentions of doing that, except I became the go-to person. I would share my mom's story, like, hey, this is what I made for my mom today. I made this salve, I put these terpenes in it. I put this CBD in it, put these essential oils in here, and this is what it's doing for. And the next thing I know, I've got 30 messages going, hey, my aunt has this, my uncle has that. Can you make this for my son? And so it became a thing.
Well, and I think to your point, so first of all, who knew all mammals have this and that it's been around for so long. So clearly it is something that's really important for our systems. And it's unfortunate that we've been through this lengthy prohibition period where we didn't really understand how medicinal and how valuable it is. And, I mean, anything can become an addictive substance or situation, right? You can be addicted to reading books. You can be addicted to scrolling on your phone. Guilty sometimes. And so, but it's all in how we use it, and it's all in, are we using it as a tool or are we using it as a crutch, right? So that could be anything in life. And the thing that I find about cannabis is that it's so much more relaxing and conscious than, say, alcohol, which really is like a controlled substance. It's incredibly toxic. It leads to lots of behaviors that are regrettable, a lot of abuse. And that's why we had prohibition in the first place, was because the consumption of alcohol and how families were then treated as a result of that, that's what led to the women's suffrage movement. And so it's so fascinating that here we are on this other side, a different type of prohibition, still a prohibition. So there's a lot of people who have, all of this is leading to, there's a lot of people who have a negative connotation or association with cannabis, or they might still believe some of the outdated propaganda about it being dangerous. So how do you talk to people? How do you help those folks who need the benefit of this medicine, yet might still have some of that outdated thinking about it? How do you, as an educator, bridge that gap?
Honestly, it's my mom's story. When they find out that, when they come to my shop or they come talk to me at the farmer's market, I'm not wearing a Bob Marley shirt. I mean, I love Bob Marley. Don't get me wrong. I love him. But I'm not promoting stoner culture. What I'm promoting is responsible adults taking action and taking responsibility for their own well-being, for their own health, and being willing to go up against an organization that is putting billions of dollars into shoving billions of pharmaceuticals down our throats and not encouraging us to heal ourselves when we are fully capable of being in charge of our care, like our own care and the care of our loved ones. Like, yes, I need my mom's doctors, but they need me too, and
Mm-hmm.
they were able to heal the cancer. It took me and my homeopathic techniques to save her from those treatments. And it's like, we are a whole community. And if we can step into the responsibility of taking care of ourselves and being responsible for our own health, then we are opening doors to relieve some of the stress that our doctors and our nurses are going through by being the source of healing for an entire freaking country.
Well, and the model, unfortunately, has been shifted to where it's pills first, right? So
Yeah.
there's always some prescription, some Band-Aid that we're trying to put on something that potentially needs a deeper level of healing than just let's manage symptoms. And as you've said, there's acute situations, traumatic situations where Western medicine is vital, where that technology is incredibly valuable and useful. However, even here at Kombucha Camp, we're always talking about we need to support the body so it can heal itself. Like, we're a self-healing organism. We are an organism that's constantly making new cells, constantly self-replicating. However, like our culture, we need to make sure that the inputs are what our bodies need, what our systems need in order to support that. And I'm just excited that you're bringing this education, especially to a region where maybe there's not as much education or information about these real health benefits to using CBD and even cannabis as a whole, not just the CBD. So let's talk a little bit. What is CBD versus THC, and then also Delta 8. So I've heard, I went back to the Midwest this summer and I saw that everywhere, and I was like, I don't know what this is, because here in California, of course, we have legal cannabis, and that's what I consume is legal cannabis.
Rub it in, Hannah, rub it in.
Look, our state's gonna approve it too. We might even get it moved on the federal level. So it's all coming soon.
Oh, I hope so. Gosh, I hope so. So, so CBD versus THC. So the cannabis plant, hemp is a cannabis plant, marijuana is a cannabis plant, kind of like you have different types of tomatoes, like slicer tomatoes and paste tomatoes. They're still tomatoes. Hemp is still a cannabis plant. Marijuana is a cannabis plant. So what CBD is and THC, these are molecules within the cannabis plant. The CBD is non-psychoactive. So you can take CBD and drive. You can take CBD and go to work. You can take CBD and babysit someone's kids. Like, you're not going to sit at a stop sign waiting for it to turn green on CBD.
Correct. Basically, what you're saying is you can take CBD and still function. You're not losing control of your motor function. You're not losing control of your faculties. So you're completely present. You've just now ingested CBD, which has this other impact on your endocannabinoid system.
Correct, correct. Very beneficial for reducing stress, for reducing inflammation, for nurturing your endocannabinoid system. CBD is fantastic. THC is also fantastic. It helps so many people come off of pain medications that they have been on for way too long. And do you think the pharmaceutical companies are excited about that? No, they're
I
not.
I just hope that they continue to have to pay the price for the opioid crisis. And that's, because that's really unfortunately where all of this pain medication use ends up, in people in dire situations, in desperate situations, people who never would have used controlled substances like heroin, or, who just because of that opioid addiction. So anything that's going to help people stay sane and stay healthy and pain free, or manage the pain, is really valuable, especially if it's non-addictive, which CBD is not.
Correct, correct. And THC is not either. Like, yes, like you said, you can create a habit out of anything. You can create a habit out of reading books. You can create a habit out of playing golf. Like, you can create a habit out of anything. But THC is not addictive. You're not going to wake up and have withdrawals. Like, I've watched my mom withdraw from pain medicine, and it was not pretty. And it was, it was in my house. They cut her pain medication very low. Like, anyway, it was very dramatic, and I was not very happy with them. And at the time, I did not have access to cannabis, legally, illegally, like none of that. So I really didn't know, and they would have kicked her out of her program at that point too. So again, my education was not where it is now, or I would have handled that a lot differently. Um, but you really do need to keep a little bit of rebel spirit when it comes to this new industry, because it's not new. Actually, cannabis was one of the top 3 medications up until the late 1800s, and was in the in the book of medicines to the pharmacopoeia until 1942. Like, it is not new at all. It's been around for 5,000 years. Like, we've been using it for 5,000 years. The only thing that's new is prohibition. And like, since we were raised and our parents were raised as it's bad, that's where it comes from. It's not bad. It's actually very healing, and it's your body needs it. And you had asked about the endocannabinoid system, like what else we can do to feed that. And there are some foods. I just realized I don't want to skip the Delta 8 thing. I want to get back to that too.
Yeah, we'll
So
get back to it.
you can use hemp seeds. There's no CBD in hemp seeds. So that's another, that opens another door, and I'll make this a quick one. If you're buying CBD oil online and it, and you don't have a connection to the company, and you're getting it for like $15, or even if they charge you $200, there's a chance that what you're getting is salad oil, and it is hemp seed oil and not hemp CBD oil. You need the whole plant, you need the flower. That's where the CBD lives, that's where the trace amounts of THC live. Like that's where there are over 100 cannabinoids within the hemp plant, and you need them all if possible. They work better together, like an orchestra. So,
Well, what do they call it? The entourage effect. But the reality
yes,
is, like, everything we consume has an entourage effect. So whether that's a carrot, it's not just there for vitamin A, right? Like there's
right.
the fiber, there's right, everything else is encapsulated within it. And so to your point, having the whole version, and I just love that it's the flower, because flowers are just, not only are they beautiful and they smell nice, but they have so many healing benefits, and humans and flowers have a really long relationship. So I love hearing that it's the flower and it's the whole plant that offers the benefit that you're looking for. So speaking of sourcing, because that's super important and really crucial, I happen to know that you have an amazing source. So if anyone is in that Southern Indiana, Northern Kentucky area, they definitely should be getting their CBD from you, whether it's going to your shop, going to the farmer's market. Are you also able to ship it online? How are people able to get your amazing healing products?
Absolutely. I ship all over the US. I've actually had people who were traveling out of the country, and they're like, I need 3 bottles before I leave because I'm not running out while I'm gone. So I've had people send me pictures of my oils from Senegal and from Great Britain, and I just love it. It's so sweet. Um, so I get to work. I have 2 special farmers. I have one that creates my CBD products, my lipid infused CBD. So a lot of CBDs are CO2 extracted. And when I first started, my CBD was CO2 extracted too. And that's fine. It's all right. It does the trick. But the farmer I've been working with for the last 2 years, he does a special extraction method called lipid infusion. So it is done at a lower temperature. It keeps more of the minor cannabinoids and the major cannabinoids intact. Um, it's it is such a strong, fabulous oil. It just makes my heart so happy. It has the extra omegas in it too because of the lipid infusion. So it's done when it's done at that lower temperature. It's almost like sautéing a vegetable lightly instead of cooking it for 3 hours, right? So when you do
Mhm.
CO2 extraction, you're putting it all in this huge tank. The CO2 fills it up. It gets turned into like a mud, and then it's all high pressure, high heat. Lipid infusion is done. It never gets over like 255 degrees, and so it's more of a slow, more natural, organic process, and keeps the good stuff there. So yes, that's the lipid
And anyone
infusion
who
is
made brownies back in the day, you always learned that you don't just throw the flours in, you need to put them into fat. And so
yes.
lipid is another way of saying fat. And so it sounds like this lipid extraction is more in alignment with how one would extract that at home, anyways, because you're needing the fat in order to transfer the cannabinoids into that fat product, which then you would cook with if you were making brownies or muffins. But in your case, then it's going into the bottle as this really lovely lipid, like you said, with the omega-3s and these different fatty acids available as well.
Yes, yes, it is a beautiful oil. So yeah, you can find that on my website. It's jubileewellness.com. You'll see it in a gold bottle, relief and support. And yes, it is my pride and joy. It's what my mom takes every day, every single day. It's one of the 3. We have her on a regimen because we figured out like what she needs, to be well, and we have got her down pat. And speaking of consultations, like you can message me on Instagram, like send me a direct message and we will set up a 15-minute consultation for free. I can send you, I'm going to be teaching a master class on the endocannabinoid system. I can send you the link for that. Education is so important because I've been doing this for about 5 years now. So many people come to me after just 1 month. Sometimes it's just a couple of weeks because it does take a minute to get CBD in your system. And they're sleeping through the night. They've never slept through the night, since they were little kids, or they can handle their coworkers better. They're better parents. Like, I have one woman who has 4 kids under the age of 8, and she's like, I'm such a kind mother now. And, of course she was kind before, she was just so stressed out. So, just things of that, like I have an adult man with Tourette's, and his tics are pretty extreme. And he's like, I can sleep through the night and my tics are so minimal now, and he's not having to take as much medication as he was before. So there are so many, when it comes to our bodies and the endocannabinoid system, like our bodies are able to speak to each other. Our bodies are able to communicate with themselves when we are nurturing our endocannabinoid system. And so a lot of people ask me about Delta 8 also, like what that does for them. The CBD is healing, Delta 8 is pain relief.
Mm-hmm.
So because Delta 8 is not whole plant, it is synthetically removed from the hemp plant. It does not have the same healing benefits, but in the Midwest, we don't have THC. So it is like the legal way to get a hold of THC.
Well, that is, and it's a good way to start. I've heard some folks express concern, maybe because it's synthetic. That could be a challenge. However, I mean, again, we're just wanting to work with the systems that are already in our bodies to get them what they need. And, pain relief is really important. Speaking of, I have a little dog who's having some digestive issues, so I'm going to go let her out right now.
Yes.
That's the reason we are moving here. But okay. She was kind enough to come let me know she needed out. So.
Oh, good. Glad she
So
knows
what
when.
about pets? Can pets take CBD, or is everything you're working with human based? How would one go about that for the animals they love as well?
It's the same as with us. Any kind of chronic illness can benefit from CBD, even for our pets. Same with anxiety and stress relief. They can benefit from CBD for those things. Arthritis relief. If you have an older dog with sore hips and they have a hard time getting up and down, the CBD naturally removes some of the inflammation from our body. Of course, if we can do things to encourage that, like go easy on wheat and go easy on dairy, and bring in a lot of water every day. Some of the other really good foods are like I know it sounds kind of crazy, but sardines are so good for us. Like those types of fish with salty, fish with the fatty acids. I mean, they are so good for us. Chia seeds, walnuts, farm fresh eggs, flax seeds, hemp seeds, like dark chocolate, like those things with antioxidants and those fatty acids that our body needs. If we have those in our system, then when we're taking our CBD, it's going to perform even better. Our endocannabinoid system is already going to be pretty happy, and it's going to work better when we're adding supplements.
So it sounds like CBD just helps to enhance all of the other things we're doing to support our immunity, to support sleep, and all those other things that are the key foundations for our health. So it sounds like something. So this is something you can take every day. As we said, it's not habit forming. You want it in the highest quality form available, which it sounds like you've got a really great farmer and process that you're working with. And again, if you're not sure how to use it or what to combine it with, then Michelle's going to offer you a consultation as well. And I think we also have a free gift we're going to give away. So I would love to hear a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, a couple of things, since I specialize in two different areas, I was like, we have to have two special gifts. Um, so one of them is going to be an essential oil roller ball set and has 5 different essential oils in with it. With your set, we'll have instructions on what each essential oil is good for. It's going to come in a nice little gift box, so you can keep it on your dresser, on your desk, or you can wrap it up and give it away. That's completely up to you. Um, don't feel guilty if you keep it for yourself, because when you treat yourself, you're able to treat the people you love even better.
Yes.
And that is something I've had to learn as a caregiver. I'm gonna grab this real quick because I mean, no matter how much I want to be patient and kind and perfectly um, stress-free as a caregiver, like I have 3 kids and my mom can't drive anymore, and like it was quite a doozy, and it still kind of is. So if I don't take care of myself, what happens? I'm a grumpy mom. I'm a grumpy daughter. I'm a grumpy business owner. I'm a grumpy community member. Like I really have to allow myself to have joy. And the more I allow myself to have joy, the more joy that I can put out into the world and back into the people I love.
I love that philosophy, and it's so true because I think as givers, we tend to think, oh, I need to just keep giving and giving. But if the well is empty, there's nothing to give. And so being really conscientious that we need to fill our well, we need to take care of ourselves because that's how we can then go out and serve and give back to others. So I really love that message. And that gift box is beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
not only will the prize winner love it, but it looks like it'd make a great gift for anyone, holidays or birthdays. Really beautiful.
Thank you. Absolutely. And I also have a 30-day supply of my CBDA soft gel capsules. So the lipid infused CBD we were talking about, we also have it in capsule form, and the oil can be bitter, and so some people are a little bit sensitive to that. They're just not used to bitter plants. They just can't handle it. So we were like, what can we do? 30-day supply. It's 25 milligrams of CBDA for each one, and so it gets you through a month. And I usually tell people that when you buy CBD, if you only take it once or twice, like you're not going to get the benefits. And it's not going to be what you feel. It's going to be what you don't feel after taking CBD for a month.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to feel as much stress. You're not going to feel as much anxiety. You're not going to feel as much pain. Those are things that it really helps with, but it takes a little while to get into your system, just like anything else, to start doing its work.
Yeah. So then you would recommend someone just take one gel cap every day. Is that
Yeah.
right? Or unless you're in
Yes.
an acute situation, in which case you might use different types of those. And that's what the consultation is for, is to help understand the best way you can leverage that healing power for yourself. Stress is the killer. Like it is stress.
Yes.
That's the thing that kills people. So, and that stress can come from a poor diet. It can come from a challenging living situation. But stress is the killer. And unfortunately, we live in a world where so much of our programming is designed to keep us in a highly stressed state. So even though the tiger isn't actually in the room trying to eat you, it can feel like it, depending on what headlines you're scrolling, what types of programming you're taking in. And so I think it's so important because kombucha is really helpful with stress as well. It's one of those things where you're still going to have a stress response, but those who are drinking kombucha report they don't feel the stress in the same way. And to your point, when we're stressed, that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Like something you could normally handle if your emotions were, if you weren't as stressed, suddenly becomes, outsized. It becomes disproportionate because of all of that underlying stress and not coming from a really solid foundation of feeling good, however we might get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. When I tell people that they need to check in on their gut health, and when I suggest probiotics and kombucha, sometimes they blink a few times because they're like, wait a minute, I'm here at your CBD booth. Why are you telling me to drink kombucha? And I'm like, because you should. because it's really important because
It's not one thing. I mean, this is the other
yeah,
thing in our culture. We've been programmed to think, oh, one magic pill, one thing the one thing. And it isn't one thing. And that's amazing because that means we get to experiment and try different things. And it isn't just have turmeric and it isn't just have ashwagandha. It isn't just have, the next superfood darling in the headlines, but it's incorporate these
right.
things in your diet on a regular basis. Absolutely, there are acute situations, where we need instant relief and they can sometimes provide that. But the more we just incorporate it into the way we cook, into how we relax, we swap our soda, we swap our energy drink, we swap a beer or a wine, and instead we have, something that's got more nutrients to it or something that, maybe is unpasteurized because even beer or wine that's pasteurized isn't as good for you as something that's biodynamic or unfiltered. So, I love nature. Nature just has so many solutions, and it's so
Absolutely.
fun to learn more about them and to put those into your tool belt. So I am so excited you were able to come here and share. Was there anything else you wanted to share about how people can find you or how else they might work with you, Michelle?
Um, no, I don't think so. Just if you find me here on Instagram, again, feel free to send me a direct message. Let's have a conversation. I am not a salesy person. Like, if I can't help you, I will help find someone who can, and I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to help guide. Um, it's just something I love to do. When I know that my experience with my mother, what we've been through the last 7 years, can help somebody else, it means the world to me because she's not suffering in vain. Like those challenging times were not in vain. We're able to share this learned experience. And oftentimes people share things with me. They help share a part of their story and they're like, yes. Oh, another thing I want to add is aloe water.
Mm.
I do want to mention that real quick. Aloe water was life changing for my mom also because she was so dehydrated from the radiation that aloe water just tasted great to her, and it just plumped her skin back up and just it helped soothe her stomach, with her chemo and everything. So
So is that
um
like the liquid of an aloe? Because I have like a big stuff of the gel.
right, well, they put
Do
it
you
in
mix
water
that with
form
water?
too. Yeah, and she wasn't even drinking like the high end fancy stuff from the health food store. I'm talking like we were at CVS. It had a ton of sugar in it, and it's still because she's a sugar bat. My mom is a sugar bat. I was like she was like half dead, and I'm like pulling cokes out of her hand, going, mother, put the damn coke down. She's like, no.
I know, right? Well, so that was my trouble with it is a little intense flavor. That said, I know there are some folks who do put it into their kombucha, so it's definitely out there. But I love hearing about the hydration aspect of it because I'm someone who shifted away from dairy. I love it, don't get me wrong, it's delicious, but it can be a little challenging for my system. And so I've
Right.
also noticed at the same time though, I'm missing fat or more hydration. So hearing about the aloe water is a really great tip as well.
Yeah, yeah. Glad to share. Well, thank you so much for having me, Hannah.
Yes, I'm so glad we got it all figured out, Michelle.
I
Thank you so
did.
much for being here. So don't forget Jubilee Wellness. Is that right? Jubilee Wellness? Is that your handle?
Jubilee of Wellness.
Jubilee of Wellness.
Yep.
And then and look for her online. And of course, we'll be posting the giveaway later this week. So be sure to comment, share with a friend. We so look forward to sharing these amazing products with all of you. Thanks so much for being here today, and we will see you next time on Mama Mondays.